Then Tejaswi Surya, who is also MP from Lok Sabha, to call on the stage. Annamalai, who is a former tamilnadu BJP representative. And our Samyukta Srivastava, who is going to moderate this panel. It's your floor.
Hello, everyone. I know a lot of people have been waiting for this panel, so very, very honored to be able to interact with you all today. So today's session is framed around 3 themes. So we go into identity, growth, and then governance. And I think everyone is excited to get into it. So we will jump in. So we've come from quite a tumultuous time in India's politics. We've seen a very fascinating set of elections in various states. There have been debates around delimitation. So my first question is addressing the question of identity. Shashi ji, you recently posted about the Kerala story, the true Kerala story, and that you say is rooted in Nehruvian secularism. And Tejasvi ji, you and Annamalai ji often have criticized this view, saying that it is a one-way secularism and antithetical to your ideas of Hindutva as a binding framework. Annamalai ji, you've also been very vocal of your criticism of linguistic politics, specifically in Tamil Nadu. And so we do see a confluence of identity and identity debates that are going on in India. So my question to the 3 of you, and I'll start with Shashi ji and then move to Tejasvi ji and then Annamalai ji, is what principles do you prioritize to hold India together if these different identities come into tension? And what are you willing to compromise, possibly, in order to preserve this national cohesion?
Well, I'm not sure that any compromise is necessary, in the sense that what we have been able to demonstrate in Kerala over a couple of thousand years is that the formula is simply living together and accepting each one for who we are, which is very much the formula that Swami Vivekananda preached so effectively when he said that Hinduism has taught him that we're not just about tolerance, but about acceptance. And I think that's a very, very important distinction, because tolerance is at bottom a rather patronizing idea. It sort of seems to say, I have the truth, you are in error, but I will magnanimously indulge you in your right to be wrong. That's all tolerance is, whereas acceptance, which is what Vivekananda taught, is essentially saying, I believe I have a truth, you believe you have a truth, I'll respect your truth, please respect my truth. And I think that has been the absolutely perfect formula that we in Kerala have practiced since time immemorial. It's interesting, for example, that the only Jewish diaspora in the entire world that has never known an instance of anti-Semitic persecution from the local population was the one that came to India. Acceptance, again, was the story. Similarly, when St. Thomas came shortly after Christ, I think he's one of the disciples of Christ, he was again accepted in Kerala. I must admit he was murdered in Tamil Nadu, but that's another story. Annamalai, no doubt, wasn't in the IPS in those days. And then you also have Islam coming to Kerala, not by the sword as the North Indians have their chip on the shoulder historically. In Kerala, we had Arabs coming to trade with us for 1,000 years before the Prophet. They would come when the winds were favorable across the Arabian Sea, settle in Kerala, marry locally, trade locally, and when the winds changed, they would go back. And this went on literally for centuries. And so people we were familiar with, we were used to seeing coming and going, they brought the news of Islam as news. And one of our kings, Cheruman Perumal, was so fascinated to hear about this prophet that he organized a flotilla to sail off to the Arabian Peninsula to meet the prophet. And most of the ships didn't make it. They got stranded in Maldives or Lakshadweep or wherever, but he apparently did. And one of the visual evidences of his visit is the fact that even today, south of Salalah in Oman, there are Kerala coconut trees growing there, which are not native to the Arab Peninsula. Now, the result of all of this was that people basically learned to live together. And when, for example, the Muslim community first, sometime around 700 AD, 712 or so, about the same time that Muhammad bin Qasim was attacking Sindh, in Kerala, when they were numerous enough that they needed a place to pray, they went to the Zamorin, and the Zamorin said, fine, there's a disused temple, you can have it. And to this day, the oldest mosque outside the Arab world is in Kodungalur in Kerala. It's gone through multiple renovations, so obviously it doesn't look like whatever it did way back in 700 AD, but there's still a gigantic traditional Kerala lamp at the entrance to the temple. Now, this is the way in which, to the mosque, and this is the way in which communities have lived together for a very long time in Kerala, and I believe that's the area that I particularly wouldn't want to compromise on. So what are the principles? Very simply, coexistence. And the logic, I've often said to my BJP friends, I don't understand why you would demonize and alienate and offend 200 million people in our country, because even whatever you may feel or whatever your justifications may be, it's also unwise, because all you need is 1% of them to feel that they have no stake in this society anymore because they're being made to feel so completely as outsiders or as others. Just 1%, and your country becomes ungovernable. Do you really want to do this? It's foolish. It's far better to embrace than to alienate, far better to unite than to divide. And that is a principle on which I don't see any room for compromise.
A very good morning to all of you. And on this philosophical positioning of Shashiji, there is nothing for us to disagree at all. And this, in fact, has been the inherent cultural, civilizational strength of this country. The examples that you gave historically has always demonstrated the fundamental civilizational spirit of what we call Hindu Dharma. And the political disagreement comes when the state starts addressing or approaching certain sections not as individuals, but starts offering special treatment on the basis of a particular community's religion. And that is what the Constitution also abhors. Now, there was a recent scheme announced by the Karnataka government, which wanted to fund development of particular areas and assigned a particular budget for minority colonies. Now, that makes us ask this very fundamental question as to what is this concept of minority colonies? Now, if the country got divided on the basis of religion in 1947, and post that we decided there should not be any discrimination on the basis of majority and minority, then what on earth is Minority Colony Development Fund? Isn't this the state actively promoting ghettoization? Isn't the state sponsoring alienation of a particular community on the basis of religion? This is what the Bharatiya Janata Party, and this is what secularists in the true sense or the constitutionalists in the true sense oppose. And if you put some kind of an opposition to these kind of policies, then the nature of the political conversation in India has unfortunately gotten so perverse that those who oppose this and ask for constitutional equality are branded as communal. Now, this is where we are having a fundamental problem. So, which is why I want to reiterate, Shashiji, that at the philosophical level, at the philosophical level, there is absolutely nothing to oppose, because what you said has been the position of Vivekananda, and that is the position of the Bharatiya Janata Party. And it took enormous amount of effort for the last 12 years to re-establish in the birthplace of Swami Vivekananda his own principles, and after the Bengal election results, finally we are seeing the resurgence of the same fundamental principle. I want to add just one point. The Constitution of India, with the exception of certain social and economic discrimination for certain communities, which is again on the basis of economic and social backwardness, does not constitutionally allow for religion-based segregation. Now, when a former Prime Minister said that the first right on the country's resources will be by a certain community because of the religion, then that is a fundamental problem, and that is unconstitutional. All we are asking is, treat all Indian citizens as individuals and do not treat them on the basis of community groupings.
I think I have to clarify that because I actually know that former Prime Minister and he's a wonderful man. The point he was making was that this particular minority is disproportionate. If you look at all the other communities in India, we broadly have the same amount, same percentage of affluent people, middle-class people, poor people, etc. everywhere. Education similarly, and so on. The Muslim community in India, partially as a legacy of partition when a lot of the middle class and the affluent left for Pakistan, is disproportionately poor, disproportionately undereducated, disproportionately inadequately represented. So you've got a situation where you have a Muslim population in many parts of India, particularly North India. This is not less true in our part of the country. But in northern India, it is genuinely true that there are many places where, in terms of their population, they are poorer, more illiterate, more, shall we say, overrepresented in the prisons and underrepresented in the services, the police, the administration, and so on. So actively giving some support. Now, let me give you an example. I can give you an example, Annamalai, from the British. The British had the same problem with a lot of the migrants on the subcontinent, the later vintage of migrants, not the professional classes from the subcontinent. And so they specifically started courses offering, and this is because of the underrepresentation of South Asians in the British police. They started offering specific training courses only for minorities in London so that these minorities could qualify to join.
One second.
Shishiji, absolutely agree. The one question that needs to be asked is, who was ruling for 65 years? The same secular champions. And it was because of these secular champions, I mean, it is a report card of your own governance. And you came to power on the claim that you represent or want to give special preference to this very section. So I think at the constitutional level, at the Hindu philosophical level, I'm in absolute agreement with you. In the premise of its practice at the political level, how it has been practiced, at that dimension, we have a fundamental disagreement, and our position is what the founding makers of the Constitution of India have. Thank you.
Annamalai ji, would love to hear your thoughts, and also please do comment on Tamil Nadu politics, because we have a lot of people in our comments who really want to hear about this.
I think we all know the great Shashi Tharoor is a very erudite politician, no doubt about that. He is trying to manufacture a controversy in Stanford, adding to the confusion that is happening in Kerala Congress for the Chief Minister's election. What happened in 60s, 70s, and 80s and 90s, and that is a manifestation that happened in 2000, be it the job and be it anything. And now putting all the blame on the BJP government, which came to power much later in all the North Indian states and different parts of our country, is unfair in my personal opinion. If you ask me, the southern states, which Congress claims is a different part of our country, and every time Congress wins one state in the southern part of our country, one Congress MP will immediately tweet, South is different, Tamil Nadu is different, Kerala is different, Telangana is different, Andhra is different. And this is for all the Congress MPs, who Shashi Tharoor is also a very close friend to many of those MPs, those belong to Tamil Nadu. They have to understand, a Congress till now in Tamil Nadu, which was parroting the DMK's language for the last many, many years, one night they changed to Vijay. One night, overnight they changed. And even chameleon will not change the colors that fast. Overnight, within 24 hours they changed the colors. And now they want to sit separate from DMK. That clearly shows Congress neither takes a position. It always piggybacks on a party which is in power, a regional party. It adapts to the regional party's tune, it speaks their language. And nobody here disputes the fact India is one country. Nobody here disputes the fact that we want to divide people on religion. Nobody disputes it. And especially in Kerala, if you look at it, is also equally happy after 10 years they have come back to power now. And what were they doing for 10 years? What were they doing for 10 years? When Shashi Tharoor ji opposes SIR, when he thinks SIR is a mechanism invented by the BJP party through the Election Commission of India to disenfranchise some more person. Is there one person in our country, one person in the country, as he said in the last 6 months, I'm a genuine voter, somebody has taken away my vote.
34 lakh people have appealed in Bengal alone.
Tamil Nadu, 97 lakh people, Tamil Nadu. Has one person come out and said, that they have taken a genuine voter out? And they keep going after one person in tribunal that happens in West Bengal with not even a proper
34
document,
lakh
bring them to the national media, keep talking again and again about SIR. That is the unfortunate part. India's moved, but Congress unfortunately is stuck in 1960. India's moved on. A new generation wants a very positive set of politics, development-oriented politics. We all respect Shashi Tharoor ji, a kind of erudite person, well-learned person, a person who has served in United Nations, a person who has always kept India's pride and prestige very high. But when he also starts to speak the Congress party's language, that is where we always have a problem.
And now, just on the record of the SIR, what I have said, the legitimate questions to answer. Look at the Bengal case. 91 lakh names were struck off the rolls. Of those, 34 lakh living human beings have appealed, saying that they are around and they are legitimately entitled to vote. The rules have required each case to be adjudicated individually. So only a few hundred were adjudicated before the vote. To this day, there are some 31, 32 lakh people who might be found to have been legitimate voters in the remaining years while the adjudication carries on, but they have missed their chance to vote. And the BJP won Bengal by a margin of 30 lakh votes. Now you tell me, is that entirely fair and democratic? This is the question that I ask. It's honestly, I have no problem with deleting spurious, deleted, absent, migrated voters. And particularly in Kerala, I suspect the Congress benefited from the deletions because the CPM was long a past master of double enrollment, triple enrollment, quadruple enrollment, the same people in 4 different booths and so on. That used to happen. And so they were eliminated by the SIR. And as you said, in Kerala and Tamil Nadu, there were very few appeals. But in Bengal, there is no doubt there were 34 lakh appeals. And that's 34 lakh forms filled by 34 lakh individuals. And of that, only a few hundred have been heard. So you might find a situation a couple of years from now that it turns out that most of these people are found to be genuine, and unfortunately, they've missed their opportunity to vote, and there's been a profound transformation as a result of that demographic change or that electoral roll change. That's the question. I'm not disagreeing with much of what you and Tejasvi have said, though I will disagree about some things when Tejasvi scores the political point about 65 years the Congress was in power. When Dr. Manmohan Singh made the statement you objected to, he was saying precisely because we haven't tried any sort of affirmative action of this nature for the minorities, they're still stuck in this kind of ghetto, and therefore we need some program to try and push them up. That's what he was saying. You're right, he got shouted down, and certainly you all were particularly vociferous on the subject. But I will say, Tejasvi, with the greatest regard for both you, Tejasvi and I traveled together on this Operation Sindhu delegation. Personally, I have a lot of regard for him and friendship for him, but I will say that this business of alienation comes from a lot of people who are not politically Congress or anything in particular, but who have just felt that somehow in recent years, in the last decade in particular, the kind of othering that has taken place of them from the official rhetoric spouted at the very highest levels of our government, ministers and politicians, has been profoundly alienating. And I've heard this spoken with a lot of sadness, not by firebrands or radicals or potential terrorists, to use the kind of language that we hear from the BJP, just from regular folks who said, you know, this is my country, my ancestors' bones have been buried in the soil for so many centuries. Why do they make me feel as if I don't belong here? And for that, there is no real answer. It's very much a chip on the shoulder that goes back to partition. And I would agree totally with them that partition was the original sin. Once you put this poison in that you are different because of your religion, you can't blame the other side for also saying, okay, in that case, you are different because of your religion. But those who stayed in India did not subscribe to that. And that's where I feel you guys are making a mistake in taking the line you're taking.
Samyukta, I think it is my duty to clarify on the SIR part in Bengal because I was in charge of the party for about 6-7 states for the SIR process. So we should put it on record so that people should know, not get misguided. And Bengal is a very peculiar case compared to the rest of the India. Kerala, no issues. Tamil Nadu, no issues. Lakshadweep, no issues. Uttar Pradesh, no issues. Madhya Pradesh, no issues. Chhattisgarh, no issues. All the 12 states that happened in the phase 2 of the SIR. Now why Bengal? Bengal is a very special case. Over the last 10-15 years, if you look at the Form 6, which is a way for a voter to get added, a rampant distribution of Form 6. The Trinamool Congress government, anybody can just walk in, generate an Aadhaar card, using an Aadhaar card, generate a ration card, submit a Form 6 that gets documented somewhere into the government system. When the SAR happens 10 years later, you claim that it is already documented 8 years before because somebody has given you a fake Form 6 and some tahsildar has taken and put it on the system. Now that is why for Bengal, the Supreme Court has said there is a special clause. The special clause is a logical clause. If you claim your age is 24, 20 years later, what was your age? Please prove your parent was here, your grandparents were here. So let us not confuse all those things. So Bengal is a Supreme Court monitored SIR process. Adequate number of time is given. Let Shashi Tharoor is free to have his own opinion, but we believe it was a very fair process done by the Election Commission of India. But coming to the Tamil Nadu part, which you asked in the first instant, which I failed to answer, Tamil Nadu is a black swan event. It happens, and it's a good thing that happened. And just like the startups here, and a rupturing of the system has to happen at some point of time. The system got overloaded too much, and national parties were also not very bold to go beyond Vindhyas and take the bull by its horn. And they had this kind of a trepidation to go on. And the weight was too much at the top, and Dravidian political parties and language model and national parties were also afraid this is the way to go, because you want to deviate from the norm. The regional parties, the so-called partners were with you. They thought you are taking the wrong route. And I believe it's a good thing that happened for Tamil Nadu, a rupturing that happened, a black swan event. Now we are there to go and clear it in the next 5-10 years. We will do the clearance. So that is not a big thing. And I always welcome it. I'm very clear from day one. And a person who has done 9 political meetings, and a person who's a superstar, on top of it promising 2,500 rupee per vote, on top of it promising 1 sovereign gold, on top of it promising 1 gold, 1 silk saree, on top of it promising agriculture loan waiver, on top of it promising everything.
Yeah, I would like to actually,
so it's a good thing that happened, but whether it's a right thing that happened, so that only 5 years later we will say, but it is important, very matured, established political parties, they can go inside and do the clearance 5 years from now, what is going to happen in Tamil Nadu.
Actually, yes, I'd like to ask all 3 of you to comment on the politics.
On the SIR, I just have one more point to add. All the 5 states that went to elections had this SIR exercise. And by the very own admission of the Congress party, with the exception of Bengal, there was no large-scale appeals of the nature that we faced in West Bengal. Now, why did this happen in West Bengal? There has been a concerted effort over the last couple of decades to actually create and foster vote banks by including those who are not citizens of India to become part of the country's electoral rolls. I was in West Bengal for almost 2 weeks campaigning in the border areas. There is an engineered attempt at actually creating, nurturing vote banks. And if the argument of the opposition is that citizens of a different country must also be eligible to vote in India, then we will oppose that tooth and nail. The Constitution does not permit for this, the BJP will not permit for that. Therefore, the exercise had to be conducted. And this is not the first time that SIR was conducted. The Congress party has conducted SIR multiple times earlier. But if the Congress does it, the SIR is fine. If the BJP does it, the SIR is not fine. This is the problem.
I'd like to switch gears a little bit. I know this debate we could probably take on for another 3 hours, and I know everyone's really enjoying it. But I want to switch to something the 3 of you actually are in agreement about. So that's the question of urban governance. So Tejasvi ji, you've spoken a lot about your plan for Bengaluru's in terms of waste management and improving infrastructure. Annamalai ji, you've spoken a lot about the management of flooding specifically in Tamil Nadu and some of the policies you disagree with on that track. And Shashi Tharoor ji, you've spoken a lot about air quality in India, and I'm sure that's a concern for many young citizens who are here who want to go back to India and work for the country. So in that order, I'd like to ask you all, what if, let's say, this is a safe space, what would be the one thing you would do, minus any, if you could wave a wand and do one thing that you think would improve urban governance in India and solve some of these infrastructural challenges, what do you think would be your top? I'll start with Tejasvi ji, and then we'll...
Yeah. Well, in the keynote, Arvind Panigaria ji made a mention about how urbanization can actually unlock a great economic potential for India. And I think in the coming decades, India needs to make concerted effort at not only a series of big bang urban municipal reforms, but also really building world-class cities. Now, I'll give you an example. I was in Tokyo a couple of months ago to study their public transportation, and we had a conversation with the mayor of Osaka. Now, there was a suggestion that came that Bengaluru and Osaka must come up with a sister city agreement. The consequential question was, now who should the mayor of Osaka talk to in Bangalore?
Very good point.
Now, this may come as a surprise to many, of course, not for the Bengalurians sitting here. The last 7 years, we don't have a functional corporation in Bengaluru. We don't have a mayor in Bengaluru in the last 6 years. And this is not the case with just Bengaluru. This is a case with many, many urban municipalities and cities in the country, because the 73rd, 74th Amendment that was carried out to the Indian Constitution, empowering our municipal and urban local bodies, did not truly, in the true sense of the Constitution or the spirit, empower financially, politically our urban local bodies. I remember Shashiji had also piloted a private members bill in the parliament to actually strengthen the electoral and political and financial empowerment of the urban local bodies. I think that is a fundamental problem. Bengaluru, a city of 1.5 crore people, in the last 7 years has been administered by 2 bureaucrats. Now, that is a fundamental problem. Second, I think flowing from that, we need to address a lot of urban municipal governance issues, because unless you have an effective city government which is elected by the people and accountable to the people and has its financial and political empowerment in the right sense, they will not be empowered to actually create outcomes, whether it is pure, get better water, better air quality. None of this can be done. And there is, even when there is governance, decentralization that happens, most of otherwise municipal functions, in which in many other countries are with the municipality, are mostly with the state governments in the country. So unless that devolution further happens, there is, we have very limited institutional capacity to effect changes in the city. The last point on this is, I met a couple of people from Bangalore and everybody were mentioning about the traffic jams, etc., etc. Like, it's become such a cliche conversation to have. One of the fundamental things that we need to do in India to address this problem is to move away from the American model of each man owning a private vehicle. It doesn't work in the Indian context. We need to heavily invest on public transport systems, move people and not cars. And unless we empower our institutions, our municipal institutions, with the talent who can actually have this, urban engineers, transportation engineers, this will not move. I had actually raised a question in Parliament to ask how many municipal corporations in the country have qualified urban engineers, traffic engineers as part of the planning in cities. We have single digits. So how can we build world-class cities if we don't have these systems and these kind of human resources in place? So I think that is a comprehensive reform. If there's one magic wand that we would want to do, is to strengthen city governments. That is what we should do in India.
Let me chip in on this, because it's wonderful that Tejasvi and I agree 100%. I'll even claim credit that he's agreeing with me, because I've been saying this for 15 years, and I introduced a private member's bill that would actually do precisely what Tejasvi is also advocating. So I hope that when they make him a minister, he will push this through the cabinet, because my bill is sitting ready for passage as long as the government is willing to adopt it. Bottom line is this, and it started off when I learned that if a business wants to open up in China, they would simply go to a city or town mayor, and that individual has the authority to approve the business proposal, to allocate the land, to give the electricity, the road connections, the access to the ports, and of course, being China, even to decide how many workers and how the workers would be paid and tell them to behave and cooperate. It was an astonishing level of power. Whereas if the same business guy comes to an Indian mayor, he'll discover the Indian mayor is the glorified chairman of a powerless committee, that the Indian mayor has absolutely no authority in any of this, has no budgetary control over anything, that the municipal corporation consists of councillors who also have no power. They chair committees which have, again, no budgetary authority and no clout. And the real power rests in an IAS officer called the municipal commissioner, who reports to the chief minister of the state, and therefore, de facto, the city is a toothless body and the mayor has no significance. This wasn't always the case. Certainly, I remember the years when the mayor of Bombay was a genuinely powerful position way back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on. It's all completely descended now, particularly with the enhanced strength of the chief ministers. Now, this creates precisely the kinds of problems that Tejasvi has described. We need 2 or 3 reforms going together. We need absolutely to empower the urban bodies. We need to give teeth to the elected officials so they can be accountable for what they do and they don't do. We need to give them budgetary authority. And in my ideal formulation, we need to have directly elected mayors. So the elected mayor is given the time to deliver on whatever promises he or she has run on and then be accountable in the next electoral cycle. Right now, a mayor cannot be blamed for anything because he or she is powerless anyway. So it really is an absurd thing, and if indeed Arvindji has been arguing that urbanization is the key to India's future, which I would agree in principle, then I would say that this is where to start. We have to start with system redesign, and urban governance is a fundamental part of that transformation. That covers all the other topics. If you want one magic wand, do this, pass my bill, and then you'll see that at least you have the tools and the budgetary authority to deliver something and be held accountable for it. Right now, I mean, and by the way, some people argue this is democracy at work. No, it's not. It's inefficiency. Let us not call inefficiency democracy, because it's not undemocratic to do what I'm suggesting and Tejasvi is suggesting. It can be done democratically with elections, with accountability to the public, and far more efficiency than the present system, which is almost designed to be inefficient. And designed initially by the British at a time when they didn't want any Indians to have any real power anyway. And that's what we have perpetuated.
Samyukta, I think Chennai is your city. You must have seen this very famous photograph of M. Karunanidhi in 1970s wading in a knee-deep water, his waist up to his knee. Then in 2000, we saw Mr. Stalin again wading in the water. Then Udayanidhi Stalin, three people in one family in 40 years, 3 generations wading. Now yesterday, Mr. Vijay took oath in a suit. I'm wondering how is he going to wade water next year. But to put things in perspective, we tried with direct selection of mayor. People elected a mayor. Mr. M.K. Stalin himself was a directly elected mayor of Chennai. Unfortunately, when we took the system away by horse trading, councillors, somebody coming as mayor, we killed the whole system of political accountability there. And if you look at a great city like Madurai, which is supposed to be in existence in 3 Sangha literature for 4,000 years, among the Indian cities in garbage collection, with more than 1 million population, it comes 40th out of 40th. It's a very poor state of affairs, because in a dynastic political structure, I don't want the mayor to overshadow Mr. Udayanidhi Stalin. So I want to keep a mayor a dummy or very inefficient person so that Udayanidhi Stalin will appear to be an efficient and intelligent person. So you put all the mayors in such a way who are unqualified for the job, politically incompetent, just to show a dynasty is much superior to you. We have killed the complete urban governance. I'm glad 2 great MPs here, because they come from 2 great cities, Thiruvananthapuram and Bangalore South, and private members bill, accountability, and he took about 16 days time to go to Tokyo, urban governance fellowship, sitting there. I'm sure when MPs like them sit in parliament, push for some course correction, when politicians listen to them, direct selection of mayors, training them, building good institutional skills inside it. It's a long shot, but sir clearly pointed out, Tamil Nadu, we are already 60% urban. We can't complain now. We are 60% urban state. And people just don't want to live in urban cities now. I hope people like them rectify it.
Annamalai ji made a very interesting point on why the political economy is not incentivized to empower mayors. 60% of Karnataka's GDP comes from one city, Bengaluru. Now, which chief minister would be politically incentivized to create a mayor who controls 60% of the state's GDP? Therefore, we have a very unique position where the chief minister wants to do mayoral duties and the deputy chief minister and the chief secretary are doing the duties of a councillor. This is the reversal that we are focusing on. And while we speak about 60% urban in Tamil Nadu, we have had this conversation many times. He has educated me on how Tamil Nadu has an industrial belt starting from Salem, Coimbatore, all the way to Tirupur. It's a state that has multiple economic clusters. Whereas in the case of Bengaluru in Karnataka, you take away Bengaluru out of Karnataka, then 60% of your GDP is gone. But the chief minister, instead of increasing the pie, by actually focusing industries and growth in North Karnataka, in Kalyan Karnataka, the Hyderabad, Mumbai Karnataka, from where there is large-scale migration of young people towards Bengaluru, he is now focusing his main responsibilities like the mayor of Bengaluru, because of lack of political devolution of power. But while we are here, we must acknowledge, I thanked Arvind Panigariya earlier as well, in the 16th Finance Commission, he has recommended devolution of funds to cities that have 1 million plus populations, higher than ever done before in India's history. So that is going to create a lot of capital and make 1 million plus population cities in India much more livable.
Thank you all. I now may be switching a little more to the economic philosophies. Shashiji, your coalition has now come to power again in Kerala, and you have also spoken at length about liberalization and how you find that the fruits of that need to be distributed to those left behind. Tejasviji, you've been very vocal about Revdi politics and the mechanism of freebies that tend to dictate electoral outcomes. And Annamalai, you've spoken at length about how these incentives tend to take away from actual economic philosophies that could help shape India's growth. So I would like to ask the three of you, do you find that there is a tension in India between the way election outcomes happen and the need to provide these incentives or freebies that enable to stay in power? Is there a conflict between power and welfare in India?
I think I am perfectly eligible to answer this question because I come from Tamil Nadu. And we have the highest debt among all the Indian states, 10,74,000 crore. And every ration card carries 4,74,000 rupee. We carry debt, highest. And since TVK is in power, Mr. Vijay is the chief minister. To put all his promises in action, this year he needs 93,000 crore. And you multiply that by 5 years, that is 1 year of Tamil Nadu's budget, which is 4.5 lakh crore. Very unfortunate, we have come to this stage. And of course there is a trickle-down economics, but we have pushed it too far. And everything we kind of bring it under trickle-down economics and we say, and politically it has become a very safe language. No political party wants to take a risk, and nobody wants to get into the people's anger mood. Politicians assume people want this, and they promise freebies over and above what is happening. And for example, if you look at our electricity system, because of this, our Tamil Nadu Electricity Board has got 1 lakh crore debt. There is no way we can clean it up. There is no way we can clean it up in the next 5-10 years. And all the startup guys, manufacturing companies, new guys, they want energy. You want data centers to come to Tamil Nadu. How can data centers come to Tamil Nadu? When the Tamil Nadu Electricity Board has got 1 lakh crore debt now. And no forward thinking. And of course, we have a Tamil Nadu Chief Minister's Economic Advisory Council headed by a Nobel laureate for 5 years. He sits in US and I think video conference he does there. And it has come to this stage now. I only hope politics becomes a bit bolder. And being bold is the need of the hour. When you have a very eminent person coming here and talking about big leap reform, 7.3% hitting it for 22 straight years. And for that to happen, the government has to become an enabler. And we are operating in a very safe space. Very unfortunate. And it is one political party biting a bullet. And once one party bites it, and this time, at least the good thing about Mr. Vijay TVK is, out of his 234 candidates, close to 200 candidates contested the election without giving a single paisa. Without giving a single paisa. That is one good thing that has come out of Tamil Nadu election. So the other Dravidian parties are like, I gave 2,000, he gave 3,000, people got both the money and they voted for Vijay. So next election, why should we give money? So I hope something like this happened. That is why I said it's a disruptor and black swan event. And I hope somebody bites the bullet. I don't have a direct answer. I can only pray and hope and see that somebody will take this in the future.
Tejasviji and Shashi Tharoorji, you have real stake in the game, so.
I mean, my state is a bit different in that we don't have enough money to give anybody. So we haven't yet got into the Tamil Nadu game of bribing voters. And the Tamil Nadu game is quite creative. I heard about one by-election where the candidate actually distributed substantial sums of money by cutting currency notes in half and said, I'll give you the other half when I win. And he won. So it works. You know that story, Annamalai. So, I mean, this is Tamil Nadu, but Kerala is a bit different. I will say, however, that as a issue of principle, the distinction between essential welfare and freebies is a very difficult one to draw. As everyone knows, I tend to be on the sort of right wing of the Congress party when it comes to economics. I'm not a big fan of statism in any particular form, and I really believe in encouraging free enterprise, but with the need to generate revenue for the state, so the state is in a position to help those who have been marginalized and left out. Social liberalism, if you want, is my form of liberalism. And I think that philosophy can be implemented in Indian states, depending, of course, on your resource base. The problem with a state like Kerala is we are so overwhelmingly in debt that literally sort of by September every year, the state government runs out of funds and has to borrow afresh in order to pay salaries and Onam bonuses and so on. And this means that we are in a level of debt that has long been unsustainable. If we were an independent country, we would have been declared bankrupt a long time ago. We're sustained by the fact that we have the security of being part of India. So this is the biggest challenge. How do you manage to generate enough revenue to be able to afford the kind of welfare measures you deem politically necessary? And Annamalai is right that all parties, pretty much, including his, I might add, make promises that mathematically are not justifiable. They cannot be sustained out of budgets. And of course, they find ways of finessing it. They will say, well, actually, what we meant was we will get to it eventually. So it won't be in the first year that you won't get the full amount we promised. By year 5, you will get it just before the next election. And so slowly you'll work your way up to that sort of thing. But now this has become a universal problem because the electorate has enabled it. 30 years ago, I wrote a book called India from Midnight to the Millennium, where I talked at that point about this precise phenomenon, which had happened in Andhra Pradesh, undivided Andhra at the time, when the parties were competitively promising rice at 3 rupees a kilo, 2 rupees a kilo, and 1 rupee a kilo. And I said, I mean, this is going to be absurd, and sure enough it was. And then Chandrababu Naidu actually tried to argue the case at that point. In talking about the 90s, the book was published in 97. Tried to argue the case that this is not something the state treasury can afford, that we have to generate revenue, so I'm not going to make these promises. And he promptly lost his attempted re-election. So the voters want these promises, they want these freebies, and that's unfortunately something which, in a democracy, remember, India is the only known instance of a democracy that has actually empowered voters to make these decisions, while a majority of the voters are still, by global standards, living below the poverty line. So the onus in our democracy on politicians is to please a majority of the electorate, which is living at a level of subsistence that requires the kind of fundamental assistance that politicians are promised. That's why these promises are made. And while Tamil Nadu might be extreme in the kinds of gifts that are doled out and so on, as a general proposition, this is a circle we all have to square. And it's not easy to figure out, but there's got to be some limits, whether those limits are to be introduced by the judiciary, which has been making more and more adverse comments about this practice, whether it's introduced by law, so that the law can tie everyone's hands equally so that parties can't competitively outpromise each other, I don't know. But at the moment, we have this phenomenon across parties, and as I say, the BJP is not an exception, and in every case, they are, at bottom, unsustainable.
Tejasviji, please, your comments before we turn it over for questions.
I think both have very comprehensively answered this question. There is only one other dimension I want to add. If you look at the manifestos of all political parties these days, and I say this with a lot of responsibility, more and more every political party's manifesto is turning out very similar. There is no distinctive economic philosophy that you kind of understand if you look at the manifestos. That is the fundamental challenge of a competitive democracy. Now, if you have somebody who is promising a 2,000 rupee dole, you cannot be, you cannot take this idealist position and not be left out of the race itself. So you will have to say, okay, I'm going to give you 2,500. That is the nature of competitive politics. There is one way that this can be addressed. One is, of course, the judicial way. The second is what the Planning Commission and, sorry, the Finance Commission has done with respect to the 50-year loans that they are now giving to the states. Now, between 1980s to 2024, the Maharashtra Industrial Association, it's called Mitra, they conducted a survey to understand how devolution of funds tied to capital expenditure will actually result in poverty alleviation. So what resulted was an unbiased analysis that when there is devolution of funds, and that devolution of funds is tied to mandatory creation of capital assets, then that results in a virtuous cycle of investment and leading to prosperity. Now, what the government of India has done, according to the Planning Commission, sorry, the Finance Commission recommendations, is they now offer 50-year interest-free loans to state governments. But the one condition is that out of the 50% of the funds that you get as this 50-year loan must compulsorily go into creation of capital assets. So this is one way of addressing this mindless rave-d politics, for lack of a better word. But this is a challenge to India states. Largely, if we are looking at the economics of India states, more and more it is being, it is evident that many states are now on the path of not actually meeting their fiscal targets. This is a very serious issue. And across the board, serious political parties should actually consider addressing this within the economic and institutional frameworks. This is something that we need to address comprehensively.
Thank you so much. We will be going over for questions. There will be a lot. We can do 3. We'll start with Arunji.
Yeah, since it relates to very much what was being discussed just now, I think you are seeing a little too much on this rave-d politics. People say that they want more money and give them and do the transfers, etc. But look at what they are doing. People are not voting for the parties that are necessarily promising. People are voting for those parties that deliver good outcomes ultimately. Why does Yogi come back each time? Why did Naveen Patnaik come back 5 or 6 times? Why does the Gujarat government come back since 2001, one after the other, they have won back the elections? Why do the incompetents get thrown out? Why did DMK get thrown out? Why does in Rajasthan, once Congress gets thrown out, then the BJP gets thrown out? I think people actually are voting very, very sensibly, throwing out governments that they don't deliver, and returning repeatedly those who deliver. It is just the political class which are not understanding this very well. So personally, I mean, we studied in the Finance Commission in great detail this whole issue, and we had a long chapter actually also on the numbers and all as well. But my own ultimate conclusion was that this is not something, I mean, of course, Finance Commission could not have said much because, every scheme that you do, say free transportation to women, has something good. So how does anyone kind of say, that, oh, shut it off? So it's very difficult to take an objective view. There is no easy way to do it. So we didn't take a view there. We just documented the subsidies and all. But I was personally less worried about it. I think this culture will gradually go away. I mean, look, the Congress has been the one that has been promising the most. how many elections has Congress actually won? So that's my kind of thought, that I mean, I'm less worried. I think, people know what they want and how they are voting in a way. It's only the political class which have to perhaps catch up with the reality. And hopefully they will actually, in many of the states, they are catching up.
Okay, I'm going to take three quick questions, 1, 2, and then I'm going to go over there, 3 white. 1, 2, and person in the white. So we'll start here.
Namaste. There's a lot of talk about the delimitation bill that was in Parliament. It didn't go through. Just want to hear your comments on that. Why didn't it go through, and what are plausible formulas that we can have that going forward, especially in the southern states? So.
Please, we request that you keep it brief because we do.
No, I didn't vote against. Well, we voted against the Trojan horse of bringing delimitation in under the mask of Nari Shakti, of women's empowerment, but that's another issue. Now, on delimitation, very simply, what is the issue at the stake? I mean, both Tejasvi and I spoke in that debate, and the way it's being couched, essentially, is that we need to redelimit because one citizen, one vote, one value is the core principle of the Constitution. Since the freezing of delimitation of Lok Sabha boundaries, according to the census of 1971, we have a situation in which undoubtedly the northern states, which population has grown by leaps and bounds since, each MP represents a larger number of people than a southern MP because we have been controlling our population and curbing numbers, and they've gone down. Now, the problem with this, of course, is that if you follow purely one citizen, one vote, what you're going to end up with is a situation where there will be a disproportionate number of MPs for the Hindi heartland states, which are the ones whose population has burgeoned dramatically, and the southern states will feel disenfranchised because on many issues, an absolute majority, and quite conceivably before too long, a 2/3 majority, will belong to the states in the north, who will then be able to impose their view on. I mean, I've noticed, for example, every year some chap will stand up and want to pass a law saying that Hindi should be the national language, and the Tamils will immediately get up and scream. Now, what happens if they actually have the 2/3 majority to make that a law? What happens to national unity? So these are fairly important questions. The Constitution calls India a union of states. And so the idea is, in addition to one citizen, one vote, you need a counterbalancing principle of one state, one equal partner in the federal arrangement. And how do we find that? These debates have taken place in other democracies. In America, they worked out the Connecticut Compromise, whereby the lower house reflected population, and it keeps getting changed depending on demography, but the upper house is equal, so a tiny state like Vermont or Delaware has the same number of senators as California or Texas. And this is something which is a way of balancing, because also the Senate in America has far more powers than the Rajya Sabha does in India. There is a second formula that we need to think about. Is it not time for us to reimagine our entire federal structure? Does it make sense to have a state like UP with 280 million people? Should we not seriously empower a states reorganization commission? When Mayawati was chief minister of UP, she passed a resolution demanding that UP be broken up into 4 states. Now, if you were to be able to do that, if Maharashtra became 2 states, whatever, you can look at the possibilities. You may have more states in India, and then each of them could have equal upper house representation without it being so anomalous that Sikkim has the same number of Rajya Sabha MPs as UP. Wouldn't make sense, but if UP were 4 states, it might be more balanced. There is a third possibility. The European Union also has a problem of powerful states and poorer states, which is done through a principle of digressive proportionality, where yes, the larger states get more European MPs because they are larger and they have more people, but it's not strictly according to population. There is a floor below which the smaller states don't sink, and there is a ceiling above which the larger states can't go. So again, balance is brought about. Finally, in India, there is one more complication, which is that it so happens that the less populated states are also the ones contributing most to the national exchequer. States like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, even Kerala with its remittances, give a lot more to Delhi than they get from the Finance Commission. Arunji is still sitting there. There's been complaints and concerns about the proportions allocated to various states. So we're the only such example in the world. In most other countries, the richer states happen also to be the more populous ones. Italy, for example, which had similar debates. In India, it's the opposite problem. And that could result in serious challenges to national unity. I've summarized all this as quickly as I could. Those who are really interested can read my article in the Indian Express. Both Tejasvi and I spoke on it. And if you're really interested, you can also watch our speeches on YouTube. The bottom line is, what I believe we need is a grand national consultation on these issues. In the normal course of events, thanks to the constitutional amendment passed by the present government, you will have a census that will come through sometime between 27 and 29. Those figures would then lead to a delimitation, and probably around the time of the 2034 election, you'll have a new map of India, politically. Between roughly 27 and 34, you need to have a profound debate about the future shape of this country for the next 50 years. And that debate is something that I've been calling for because it goes to the very heart of Indian unity. We all love India, Indian civilization, Indian unity, the Indian idea, the Indian cricket team, whatever. But how we design that India politically is going to have far-reaching implications for how we get from here to there. If you allow it simply to go through this mechanical thing, or worse still, pass a delimitation bill in haste, you end up really jeopardizing the unity and future of India. That's the broad answer from my point of view.
Now, giving you the other perspective, which is the right perspective also. Now, where do you see your MPs in India? I see my MP only in the newspaper. 22 lakh people, 25 lakh people, 30 lakh people, 3 million. They vote. Only time as MP does some ribbon cutting, we all see in the newspaper. Now we can keep speculating options, we can keep giving grand bargains, but India needs a solution. Tamil Nadu's TFR is already at 1.4. We are one of the lowest in the country. We are at 1.4. 2026, whatever the parliament restriction was put 50 years before, 225 extension is coming to an end. Census numbers will come. Now this is one thing where the North Indian states, which naturally might deserve a larger number of MPs. Now this is a grand bargain between a North Indian states and South Indian states to come to a definite conclusion that let us all arrive at a number in which nobody is losing what it was already at 543. Now I really simply don't understand why Congress opposed it. And now, even now they speculate option 7, we have option 11, we can endlessly debate it for the next 20 years. This is an opportunity for all states to come to one common point, agree, where Tamil Nadu will believe if we go by 2011 census, Tamil Nadu will get 50. Now in the new model, we are getting 59. We are getting 9 more extra. UP might believe, oh, 1 person, 1 vote, we should have gotten more. Now because of this grand bargain, we are getting less. So this is a problem where every state will rightfully believe I am losing or I am gaining. When the central government has proposed a concept where let us arrive at a solution where nobody is losing, nobody is gaining. 50 years it has kept us from now. Now we have to just push it further. And now again you start a debate, again states like Tamil Nadu, which rightfully, after 1965 agitation that happened, which torn apart the state, again we go for it. I don't think we'll find a solution, which I particularly believe, with Shashiji with his eminence can argue, put in the parliament as different perspective, but this is a solution we are arriving at. And now when they say it's a Trojan horse, Nari Shakti, today we are on Mother's Day. And India rightfully is demanding a 33% reservation, rightfully.
Pass it today,
From
we'll vote for it.
96 they are
Today, you can vote for it immediately. Don't link it to delimitation.
No.
Have 1/3 reservation for women in today's parliament, we'll all vote for it.
After census numbers come, will North Indian states agree? Let us imagine census number come by 27, 28 or 29, let us imagine. Will states like UP agree? If a state like UP stands up and say, no, the proportional representation, 1 person, 1 vote, we need more number of MPs, where will we go and put our head? A grand bargain is a bargain where every state should come to a conclusion that this is a solution. Unfortunately, it does not happen.
But a parliament of 850 is also a disaster. As it is with 543, many people don't get a chance to speak, to debate, to discuss.
I am seeing the MPs only in the papers, sir. At least
That's
let me
what
have the opportunity
so
to
then
see the MPs.
we also need to work out what the MLAs do, what the councillors do.
Agree, sir.
Especially
That
where
part I
empowered,
agree with
and what the MPs do, so we can have a distinction rather than going to 850.
We will move to the next question because this is.
Can I take 30 seconds?
Okay, quickly, please.
There is an inherent logical fallacy in the Congress's argument, and that is all I want to say. They are okay with maintaining the 1971 proportion of seats. So Shashiji is okay if the delimitation exercise is conducted within states based on the 1971 numbers, as long as 543 is the number of seats. What we are proposing is exactly the same. what we are saying is let us maintain the proportion of 543. No state will lose, no state will gain. From 543, the number of seats will become 850. Every state will have a proportionate 50% increase. The total percentage in the overall floor of the parliament for every state will remain as it exists today. But because in 1971 the population of the country was 550 crores, was 55 crores, and today the population of the country is 140 crores. This is a mathematical necessity. Like what Annaji mentioned, I represent a constituency of 26 lakh people. It is impossible for a common citizen to actually go and meet the MP and get things done. So not just because it is a constitutional mandate, because the constitution asks that delimitation should be done once in 10 years. It is also a democratic necessity because in the existing framework, there is no question of accountability as far as the elected representative is concerned. So the argument is absurd because you are asking for a composition of the parliament to remain frozen in time. 543, 1971 population cannot cater to a democracy of 140 crore people in 2026. That is limited.
The US House of Representatives, we are in the US, has remained at the same number of 435 since 1929.
It is clearly not
what
working
the US
well.
population has tripled. The US population has tripled since 1929, but because they recognize that you cannot have a debating chamber of 850. It'll become a Desi version of the Chinese People's Consultative Conference, where you just stand up when the great leader comes and thump your desks. You won't have a chance to speak, argue, debate, anything. 850 is a joke. It cannot be a serious
Shashiji, on the day of the discussion happened, both of our columns appeared in the same Indian Express, arguing both our sides. The Indian Parliament was sitting for about 150 to 160 days in the 1950s and 60s. In the last, and there's a decline that is happening. Now we see around 55, 56 because of the disruptions of the Congress. You don't allow for the debates to take place. No, coming back, the point is, if you are increasing the number of seats, please also mandate an increased sitting of the parliament.
Correct.
So it is, you shouldn't be taking away the right of a citizen to be represented effectively, accountably, by making an argument that 850 is too big a number. It's a country of 140 crore people. You need a big parliament because I want to speak to my MP. I want to meet him. I want to know what he is working on, and I want to hold him accountable, which I'm not able to do with a 26 million electorate today. 26 lakh electorate today. That is the limited point. We want to make democracy accountable. We want to ensure that there is an accountability between the voter and the elected. And while doing all of this, we want to ensure that neither the North nor the South feels somebody has lost and somebody is unfairly gained, while also maintaining the principle of one person, one vote, that is sacrosancting the Constitution. Now, the other argument that one of your colleagues gave was linking the number of seats to the GSDP of a state. Now, how absurd is this? It's such a cyclical number. 6 months, the GSDP is high, so you increase the number of seats. It's a bad monsoon year, so decrease the number of seats the next year. These are the illogical arguments put forth by the opposition. It doesn't work. We had proposed a very responsible, very workable, practical solution. Maintain the proportion as it exists today. 50% increase flat for every state. Constituencies will be made smaller. Democracy will become more accountable. And this was what I think is the only practical solution if we actually want to have 140 crore people adequately, effectively represented.
We will have to cap the discussion because we are running out of time. I'm going to ask each of you very short, 15 seconds, I'm timing it, your short message to the Stanford community and to the folks who have gathered here. Very short, 15 seconds, go.
I'm not known for brevity, besides it's 2 to 1 right here, so I get twice the length. Yeah, I get 30 seconds. No, honestly, all I would say to the Stanford community is please stay engaged. I'm so glad that you're having this kind of discussion. And the more you stay involved in what's going on in India, you all have tremendous ideas to offer. You're doing cutting-edge work and research in a lot of fields that are relevant to our country. Stay engaged with us. I mean, what we're talking about is only one aspect of it. There's so many others discussing so many things. give us an opportunity to share our current thinking. In turn, please influence our ideas and thoughts so that when we go back to India, we go with some of the latest cutting-edge thoughts that you've all got in your respective fields. And let's try and keep this dialogue going. The diaspora, I've often called the National Reserve of India, not just the non-resident Indians, the National Reserve of India. And we need to be able to count on your continued engagement, support, and goodwill in the time ahead. It's not always been there, so I hope it'll come. Thank you very much.
To the Stanford community, proud of you guys. Last year, small room, less than 50 people, to such a big room and such a great audience here. It shows the leap you have taken in 1 year, third year running. Come back to our country, go to villages, stay there for some time. Whenever you come for a holiday, take 4 or 5 days, go and stay in a village. See everybody, don't stay only in the urban areas. India is changing fast. Take time to meet the parliamentarians. If there is an opportunity, work with them for a week or 10 days. Put your solutions in action there. And trust politics actually works. And don't stay away from politics. They're good politicians. And be a fellow with them. Work with them, elected representatives. Put your thinking into action. You will see the change that is possible in front of you. Thank you.
I have been a student organizer myself. I know the kind of effort student organizations have to put to pull off an event of this scale. So congratulations, the team has done an exceptional job. Like Annamalai ji said, India holds exceptional promise. Please come back to India, not just to learn, but also to effectively contribute. I have seen so many thought leaders, tech leaders come to India, work on solutions because they believe, rightly so, that if you solve for India, you're actually solving for the world. So all the very best, and the next few decades truly belongs to all of us. All the very best.
Thank you all so much. And on that note, we would like to felicitate our panel for joining us today.